Jez is a young businessman. He's in the corporate world, and he has a roommate. He's not. He's a single guy, and I think he thinks that he's a sweetheart and he's sensitive, and he works with a couple other of his work buddies are a lot more crude than he is, and he feels that he's certainly a step above that in chivalry and class. And whether he is or isn't, I mean, I would say he's not, but you can make your own judgment. Carey's transformation in these scenes really flips a switch, and these guys that were acting in one way they felt like was good, but they were sort of acting in a vacuum, almost by themselves. And then when there's another fully sentient being there who's aware and has all their faculties, they viewed in even that light, they're already questioning themselves. So I mean, I guess I would say that on one hand, perhaps what they think they're doing is good, but even without being accused of anything, but just knowing that somebody's really been watching with 2020, watching them with 2020, already makes them question themselves pretty instantly and their behavior. Carey's, she's one of the greats of our generation. I mean, she's a really just phenomenal and amazingly versatile actor who is also very nice and gracious. That was what was so pleasing. I mean, I was a huge fan, and I obviously everyone knows she's great, but she was just so lovely, and so that was also made it wonderful to work with her. Emerald's she's been very fun, and also I'm just quite happy to be a part of it because she's very talented. I mean, the thing I would say about Emerald and Carey first and foremost is they're very talented, and they're both very funny, and they're both very nice. So I don't know. It's been a joy. I know it's billed as a thriller. I don't know what it'll be the overarching tone, but in many ways it's a comedy to me, and it's a dark, mean, nasty comedy, but it's funny through and through. Most of these situations and scenes can be looked at from a couple different ways and discussed and have a couple different, people can have a couple different opinions about them, as we're having in society right now. But on the other hand, it's just, regardless of all that, it's also just going to be entertaining top to bottom and thrilling and funny and at times a nail biter, and so, and that's what I think, I know that's what also works best and makes for the best art is, it's great to have a conversation, a socially relevant conversation, but if you can deliver that on a very entertaining, if you can entertain people and then have the conversation follow, that's the most interesting way to do it, in my opinion. And that's what makes it a good movie to me, in the sense of is it a fable or she's on a quest? Yeah, I mean I think I'm pulling this from the some of the storyboard stuff, but she's an avenging angel. She's on a quest, and that in itself is cinematic and mythic and heightened. But it's also at the same time illuminating very real and average, in many cases, experiences that should be reevaluated And I'm happy we're doing it. Let me just say, let me just add, I'm happy as a society that this is taking place. I think it's great. I read the script and met Emerald, just a little meeting, and just felt like I really got along with her. And like the script was just super shocking to me, and like actually not what I expected. Even, you know, a lot of scripts when they've kind of, maybe movies present themselves as subversive, but actually you kind of know the way in which it's going to be subversive. And this one was really, really surprising. And then I wanted to just meet the person who wrote this. And I sat down with Emerald, and she was sort of not what I expected in the best way. The film is about a young woman who is avenging an injustice that was done to someone close to her on, I think, both sort of practically in terms of the men who actually perpetuated it, and also globally in sort of the male culture. It's a, you know, rom-com thriller, I guess. But I'm the nice guy that shows up. I'm the good one. I'm the good guy in a world of bad men. Ryan went to school with Cassie. They're both in med school. She dropped out and he continued, and he went on to become a pediatric surgeon. And yeah, I think he's a young, successful, confident person who thinks he's a very good person, because I think in general he probably is relatively. And I think he goes, you know, he hasn't seen Cassie in a long time, and sort of runs into her in this coffee shop and is sort of taken aback by her, because I think the sort of vibe and feeling she maybe has now is a little dissimilar to what it was when she was in school. And I think he's genuinely pursuing her very earnestly, and really has strong feelings for her, and maybe lacks a little bit of self-awareness in retrospect when he looks back, because there were a few red flags, but he's sort of blinded by just the person she is. Laverne Cox, who's absolutely incredible and is just like an amazing presence on and off camera. She just like, everyone's spirits are up, and like she's like singing between takes, and like she's like a gorgeous voice. I felt totally challenged reading this script. When I first came across the story, I was like, whoa. And other people I know that have read the script are like, everyone has a slightly different reaction. So that's what I think is exciting about Emerald and this film, is that she's not trying to deliver one experience or service a need or service a want that's being expressed by an audience. She's really trying to create, I think, a piece of art that is, you know, open to interpretation and challenges people, and, you know, means one thing one day and another thing another day, and one thing to one person and one thing to another person, and one thing the first time you watch it and another thing, you know, the second time. She's just great. She's just a really good actor in like a very simple, fundamental way, where it's just, she's like absolutely present, and but like lets you into whatever is happening, like is giving in a, you know, I don't know. I mean, she's just a lot better than me. I think she's a lot better actor than me. So it's very stupid for me to describe in what way she is. It's just, I'm mostly surprised that she's just like very cool and down to earth. It's been incredibly enjoyable. Yeah, it's like great. It's really, really great. There's a million reasons for me to feel uncomfortable and intimidated, and, you know, like, why am I here? I shouldn't be here. And only a few remain because of the onslaught of warmth and kindness from Emerald and Carey. And they're such a great team. And they like each other so much, I think, and get along with each other. It's just a good thing to be a part of. I'm so excited to be a viewer of this film, mostly. I hope it gets people talking in general. I don't know what it, I don't think I don't think the version of this movie that Emerald wants, or that I would want to see, is a movie where everyone's talking about the same thing. You know, I think it's like a sort of a very explosive, contentious in a really great way movie. And I think it could hopefully show that, you know, movies can take risks and start conversations still.
I hope people are watching and gasping and screaming and booing and hissing and cheering. Because I think it is also like a genre piece, like a thriller, and like is genuinely has twists and turns that you don't see coming. So I hope people are entertained by it. You know, I hope we can kind of show with this film that you can talk about really deep issues and still also engage in the sort of really fun things about movies, that like the idea of movies that are talking about, quote, important things, and movies that, you know, make you want to sit down with a tub of popcorn and actually have fun. Those things are mutually exclusive. I wanted to be a player in Emerald's vision. I mean, that's really what I wanted to do. And like, it's very exciting for a woman to write and direct a piece of art that explores the gray areas and complexities of this issue. Like, that's interesting to me and very, so I'm happy to be a part of it. I mean, I'm an actor, you know, like in this, I'm just meant to service a story. And it's a story that, you know, part of it really resonated with me, which is like who this guy was and the sort of the way in which he flirted. And another part of it was a window into something I am not aware of, which is like the cross-sectional view of men that women have, that men can't have.
The script is so fantastic. I think that I was so caught off guard, actually, by reading sort of the log line about what it was about. And then as I read the actual material, it just got more and more interesting. I've never read anything like it. It was so unique. And then I sat with Emerald, and the way she talked about shooting the movie and the style of the movie was so different than what I had even pictured while reading it. And I sort of left that meeting with her being like, this project keeps getting cooler and cooler. It just keeps surprising me. All the guys in the movie are so great. The actors who are playing these roles, a lot of them are friends of mine or people I've worked with before. They're so funny. They're such sweet guys. And I think that's part of the point, is that it's a movie about consent, and that, you know, when we think about consent, I think we often want to like really think about monsters and villains perpetrating horrible acts on women. And like, I think more often than not, it's like really friendly looking people that you wouldn't suspect that behavior from. And they don't even think of themselves in that way. They especially don't think of themselves in that way. Madison is such an interesting character because she kind of represents the female contingent of victim blamers. She's a bit of a villain when we first meet her, and she's known Cassie from school. She was in college with all of them. She was around when this horrible thing happened to Cassie's good friend. She was friends with them. And clearly, you know, Madison was on the wrong side of history. She was not supportive of Nina and Cassie in the midst of that controversy, and really, I think, sided with the male counterpart and stayed friends with all those guys, and has sort of forgotten about the incident, or remembered it in a different way that sort of suits her. And she really has a huge arc in the movie, because after her interaction with Cassie, and Cassie, you know, plays a bit of a mind game with her, to put it mildly, and it really affects her. Oh, it's been so wonderful working with Carey. She's so lovely. She's made me feel so comfortable, which I think is it's just so nice, because again, you're popping in to do these kind of big scenes. Some are highly emotional, and so it's really helpful. I think that she is just so welcoming and lovely, and especially because her character is not that. It's been nice to you know, just have that comfortability, and you know, Carey and I and Emerald spoke a lot before we started shooting about how these characters used to be friends, and but even when they were friends, there was sort of a weird dynamic there. So it's just nice to have a comfortable rapport, I think, with someone when you're playing weird power dynamics and stuff. The current climate lends itself to this kind of story being told. I think that this is a movie that should always, you know, exist and could be told at any time, but especially right now, you know, we're all just taking a closer look at at consent and what it means. And this movie is really shaking that up. Emerald is so cool. She's so cool. She's great. She's a great director. I loved working with her. She's very assured and very kind. And I can't wait to see how this movie comes together, and I can't wait to see what she does next. I guess I just hope that this movie stirs something up in people. I think I hope that it stirs up conversation in kind of a fresh, new way. I think that people are getting, I don't know. I feel like there's a bit of like fatigue as we're going through this moment of talking about this really important thing. And it's kind of a bummer that we're reaching a bit of a point as things are changing. I feel like we're also reaching a point where people are going, oh, we get it. And you're like, do you get it? Like, can we find a fresh way to examine it so you still realize that this issue is important and relevant and needs to continue being talked about if we do want actual change to happen? And I think a film like this is just the thing to get people talking about it in a fresh way.